Hope you guys are doing well. So last week we wrapped up our series called Immense, where we went through the book of Amos for 4 weeks. Well, this week we're starting a new series called Soul Searching, and we're going to be talking about I think the one part of our bodies that we're get to be the most confused about, and that's our souls. And figuring out a little bit more of what that is and what that looks like, and what it means to have a soul. So, but before we start, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to close your eyes. So if you're watching this, just take some time, close your eyes. I want you to imagine one of the most beautiful landscapes you've ever seen in your life. Oceans, rivers, mountains, trees, or whatever else. All right. Do you see it? Do you kind of see it in that mind's eye of yours? Can you see what I'm picturing here? Well, God made that. He also made everything you haven't seen. He made things like black holes and galaxies so far away, that we can't even comprehend the distance. Everything that we've ever experienced and haven't experienced, God has made. So in the beginning, God created all those things. And it's pretty amazing if you really stop to think about it. They look in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, but God wasn't done just yet. After all the constellations and all the creatures were formed, God decided to do one more thing. However, he decided to create this thing a little differently. See, for this last piece of creation, he added a little extra. So when you look at again in Genesis 1, this is verses 26 and 27, it goes on to say, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth.' So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them male and female." See, we could talk for days about all the implications of this passage alone, just these two verses. In just these two verses, God said a ton about, the sanctity of life. He talks about body image and racism and sexuality and so much more. But for now, we're just going to land on this one idea, and that you were made by God to be special. God made you in his image. That is a big deal. But that's not all here. The Bible actually gives us an even more amazing picture of humanity's creation just a few verses later. So in Genesis 2, verse 7, it says, "Then the Lord God formed the man out of the dust from the ground and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and the man became a living being." See, when God created Adam and Eve, he added a little extra something. So, I love to drink Mountain Dew. I think Mountain Dew is amazing. Actually, I don't think it's amazing. I really like it. I think Mountain Dew is really good. Typically, if I'm at a restaurant, that's when I go to sodas. Wow, one of the things that I think I like even more than Mountain Dew is the Mountain Dew Voltage, the blue Mountain Dew, at least the dark blue Mountain Dew. That one I love it, and what it is, it's just Mountain Dew, but they added, I think, some raspberry to it. I think there's some ginseng, some of those things there. They just added some extra flavors to it. So they took the original and they added to it, and it made it even better. At least in my opinion, it made it way better. See, when God created everything on the first 5 days, it was kind of like that original flavor, original Mountain Dew. Don't get me wrong, the original flavor is great, right? It's classic. I mean, who doesn't love original flavor? But how much better are the added bonus flavors to things? All right, maybe that's not always true. Maybe once in a while you find one you don't like, but here's the point. When God made people, he added in that extra little stuff. He added a living soul. See, here's the really crazy thing. God still makes people the way he did back in Genesis. When God made people, he still makes them special. It wasn't just Adam and Eve, who were created with a soul, everyone who you've ever met or seen was created in the image of God. And every person who's ever been born was created with a soul. Today is all about us understanding that you and I have a soul. So some of you might be asking, what exactly is a soul? Unfortunately, the Bible doesn't really give us a word-by-word definition of what a soul is, but a helpful way of thinking about it is your soul is the part of you that will live forever. Even though your body will one day pass away, God created a part of you that was meant to live forever. Make no mistake, you have a soul. We aren't talking about the bottom of your shoe. You have a soul, S-O-U-L. So you might say I don't know. That seems really spiritual to me. Maybe a little too much. How do I know I have a soul if I can't see it or if I can't touch it? And that's a great question. You can't touch your soul, but consider this. You can't touch your heart, can't touch your lungs, you can't touch your liver, you can't touch your brain, or at least not very easily. Does that mean that those organs don't exist? You can't see air. You can see the result of air. You can see the result of wind, but you can't see the actual wind. Does that mean that air and wind doesn't exist? Just because you can't see or touch it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just because you can't see or touch your brain doesn't mean your brain's not there, at least for most of you. I'm kidding. In fact, the parts of your body that you really can't see or touch are really the most important parts. In the same way, just because your soul is not accessible, or visible, doesn't mean it's not there. Your soul is the most important part of you. And that's exactly why it's invisible and impossible to touch or impossible to feel. But believe me, there is a part of you that was created to exist for eternity. Your soul, which God breathed into you when you were created, is the defining attribute of what it means to be human. It's the special ingredient that God still adds to every single person that he's ever created. The very last thing that God created in Genesis was humankind. It was his epic finale. Paul writes in Ephesians 2:10 that we are God's masterpiece. And God looked at everything he made and said, it is very good. After all his creative work was done, God took a break. He called this break a Sabbath. Now, the word Sabbath simply means rest. Did God rest because he was tired? Well, no, that's ridiculous to think that God gets tired. But God rested because he was finished. Not because he was tired. And God knew that we would need to be taught a very valuable lesson, and that our souls are not meant for constant activity and moving and going. In order to keep our souls healthy, we also need to have a Sabbath rest. God made things and then he rested. This is the natural rhythm that was given to us. It's innate inside all of us. Imagine you're a basketball player and you're playing an important game for your school. If your coach never called for a timeout or never substituted a player, you would be miserable. Even the best athletes in the world need to take a break every once in a while. They need to rest, they need to regroup, they need to rethink the game plan. They need to stop. When we refuse to take those timeouts and give our souls, a Sabbath rest, the things can get messy really fast. God knew that, so he made sure that these living souls, that these people had everything they needed to take a Sabbath rest. So the next two verses in Genesis tell us, that God placed this man and woman in the Garden of Eden, and that God himself was present with them. The Garden of Eden shows us two ways that we can give our souls a Sabbath rest. And the first one is connect yourself to God through the natural world. Have you ever been angry or upset and then decided to take a walk outside? Do you know why that sometimes just helps? It's because your soul has started to rest and you've started to reconnect with God. That's the way that God has intended for us to function. Next time you're feeling tired and worn out in your soul, take a walk. Go find somewhere to go, walk down the street, go find a park to walk through, or just sit outside and clear your mind for just a few minutes. It's amazing how being present in God's creation can connect us, with the Creator. I know what I would do when I was in college. Whenever I get a haircut, I'd walk there because there's a little barbershop in town, and I'd put my headphones on and I would always listen to a song. The song I always listened to typically actually was a song called "Tears of the Saints" by Leland. If you ever want to look it up, go for it. I think it's a really good song. But it always helped me reconnect back with God, to observe nature and to just listen to some music geared towards Him. Very quickly, I found myself being reacclimated and looking to Him and understanding, His creation and my need to take a break. So the second way we see is that we can connect yourself to God through prayer. Look, God was present with Adam and Eve in the beginning. They had a personal relationship with Him. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy to think, if you think about it. What's even crazier, though, is that we can have this same relationship with God through Jesus. Jesus' death and resurrection allows us to have a personal relationship with God, too. We can pray to God and talk with Him just like Adam and Eve did. And so next time your soul feels overwhelmed, just spend a minute in prayer. Thank God for the blessings in your life. Ask Him to guide you and speak to your heart. So we'll be talking about King David in the coming weeks. So he was a guy who knew a thing or two about being worn out and tired. There were times when he was, hunted by warriors who wanted to take his life. There were times when he made terrible decisions as a king and had to face serious consequences. But check out what David says in one of his Psalms. So in Psalm 62, verses 1 to 2, it says, "I am at rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I will never be shaken." In the midst of his most difficult times, there was only one place where David could turn. He knew that God alone provided rest for his weary soul. We all instinctively know we need rest, but many of us really don't turn to God first. Sometimes we try to find rest in mindless entertainment or substance abuse or destructive fantasies and more nonsense. But what happens after we binge another TV show, finish another video game, or take another drug? Are we really satisfied? Did it really bring true rest to our souls? One of my favorite shows is Parks and Recreation. If I can't find something to watch, Netflix is where I go, and I'll watch the whole series. And it's a great show, at least I think so. But the one thing that I find with that is that when that last episode plays, I'm so often sitting there going, what now? What do I do now? I feel so unfulfilled. I feel empty. I really didn't do anything, and I really wasn't resting. I just kind of, the rest that I was taking part in didn't restore me to then go and do something else. It left me there going, I just still feel empty. That's what happens when we look to the world to fill us up for our rest instead of going to God for our rest. See, the great spiritual thinker, St. Augustine, said it this way: "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." So St. Augustine puts to words exactly how many of us feel. How many of us feel restless? Think about that word for a minute. It literally means without rest. How many of us are trying to find a Sabbath rest in things that only leave us more tired and broken? So here's the truth for today. God created you to be with Him, and your soul will only find rest in Him. So let's stop running away from the one who created us. Instead, Let's run to him and find the Sabbath we truly need. So I really want you to take seriously this challenge that I mentioned earlier to you. Can you carve out a few minutes every day this week to just spend time in nature? Just sit outside. This doesn't mean you have to take a 10-mile hike every day, but even find just a few minutes outside. That can provide a rest for your soul with rest and refocus, and you can put your mind on Jesus and God, or the creator of the universe instead of the chaos that's around us. Similarly, you can spend like 1 more minute in prayer every day this week. 1 minute more I'm asking for. Just like Adam and Eve walked with God in the garden, our souls desperately need to spend time with God in order to be satisfied. Remember, God created you to be with him, and your soul will only find rest in him. We need to remember here, guys, that I think we're all stressed. I think everyone's blood pressure's through the roof. I think everyone's on tense and high alert. We need to keep remembering to focus on God, and we will be okay. He's gonna see us through this. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be okay. He's got you. He's got you. That's the biggest thing I want to say to you here is he got you. Continue to find rest in him, and he'll continue to restore you. So don't worry about, maybe don't watch The Office again. Maybe don't turn on the Xbox right now. Maybe take some time, open your Bible, go outside, put a sweatshirt on, it's a little cold. But go outside and just read for a little bit. And then take some time and pray for a little bit. And honestly, just sit in the quiet for like 2 minutes. Just sit and do nothing. Just listen to the world around you. And listen for God's creation. You'll be amazed what you hear. Yeah, you might hear some cars or construction but you're also going to hear birds. You're going to hear wind. You're going to hear life happening. That is God. God created all of that. He created you. So, have a great rest of the week. I know the week just started, but have a great week. I hope, when this is all done, we get to see each other and hang out. I'm excited for that. I look forward to talking to you guys later. Bye.